There is a moment in every life when you decide to rise, to stand taller than your fear, to speak louder than your doubt, to chase the vision that sets your soul on fire. This is that moment, and here we walk it together with stories that awaken, voices that inspire, and truths that set you free. This is Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald, where hope has a voice, and that voice is yours. And welcome to the show, everybody. I got to tell you, I'm very excited because we get to talk to a creative person here who can do things like take a guy like me that has a face made for radio, and she can make it look really good and in the photography world, and to take pictures and that kind of stuff. Her name is Lesle Lane, and she is with us all the way from Indianapolis, Indiana. And welcome, Lesle. How are you today?
I'm doing great, Kevin. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, it's great fun for us to talk to you. Have you been a photographer your whole life and then you took it into corporate photography, or how did this evolve for you?
Well, we don't have enough time for that, Kevin, but I can tell you that I am a third generation photographer. So my grandparents had a portrait and wedding business down in Columbus, Georgia. And then my mother and my stepfather had a corporate photography business here in Indiana, and I took that business over. So I have had a camera in my hand since I was 6 years old, and I have never done anything except corporate photography. That is my only type of photography I've ever done.
Explain to us what corporate photography is, or what it means.
Yeah, corporate photography is when somebody comes alongside a company, an organization, can be big, can be small, can be global, and helps them reach their audience through imagery, whether that is still photography, videography, drone work, but we're always promoting the brand, either through marketing and advertising, social media, those types of things. So we only work in the B2B space. We don't work in business to consumer at all.
And I gotta tell you, the advent of drones and the ability that they've added a whole new, not even a chapter, it's like a whole new book to photography, haven't they?
Oh, it's opened a level of creativity that's amazing, because what we normally do is we blend that drone angle with the other angles, because a drone angle by itself is not perfect any more than a still image from the ground is not perfect. And so when a company can use both, or maybe it's a video and we're starting the video over top of a building, and then we fly that right into the front door, and then we do a tour of the facility, it's just opened up so many opportunities, and it's really fun.
Well, and I have to tell you, I go back a little ways. There's a gal by the name of Barb Schwarz, and in 2002, 2003, she was a real estate agent, and she decided to create something called staging. Are you familiar with staging?
Very much so.
And so back in the day, staging would be that you take all the furniture out of the house that you're about to sell, and then you stage it with really cool furniture and a whole different way of presenting the house, so that when people come to see it, they can see what it's going to be about and what it's going to look like, and to give them ideas. Well, drones have added a whole new level to that. After my mother passed away and we were selling her house, and she lives on Whidbey Island right next to Puget Sound and stuff, and the house looked very nice and you could stage it, but when you added the drone to it, and the drone took off and could have a view of Puget Sound and the Olympics and all of that, and then go and then focus in on the house. My sister, when she saw that, she said, "Is that Mom's house? I can't believe that's Mom's house. I'd buy that." So drones have added a great deal. How did you discover them, and how do they work with your business?
Sure. Well, I do a ton of architectural photography anyway. So I'm working in the corporate world for industrial parks, new construction, any type of office building that's being built. So I was already in the industry. And when you're talking about many of these flat and long buildings, a still image from the ground is just dull. And so I was immediately brought into the drone world through the AEC industry, through the architecture, engineering, and construction industry. And so once I saw what it was bringing to the table, I decided to add that to our offerings here at the business.
And that adds a lot to what you're doing because it gives it a three-dimensionality. I'm not even sure that's a word. Is three-dimensionality a word?
Oh, I think it's a word.
Oh, good. Because it brings that three-dimensional look to it, and it can create something that wasn't even available to us before.
Correct. And again, when we're, like I was talking about the industrial parks, we're here in Indiana, we're the industrial park capital of the world, in my opinion. I have no idea if that's true. And so we're able to show the building above, but also show it in relation to others that are in that industrial park. And it gives it depth that you can't get from the ground.
Now, I want to, when I talk about musicians and authors and poets and photographers goes into that as well, there's a unique ability and mindset and a different eye that you have for photography and taking, because there's taking photographs and then there's photography, and that's a completely different thing. Did you go to school to learn that, or was this an innate skill that you gathered from the time that you were 6 years old?
So, it's a not funny story. I'm going to be very real with you. It's a not funny story, but my parents sent me off to college to get a liberal arts education because they said that when you come into a business that's already established, the most important thing that they wanted me to learn was how to talk to the senator and the janitor. They're like, you need to be able to speak intelligently to everyone. And so they sent me off to school because my parents believed that they could teach me everything I needed to know photographically. And so I came into the business after college, and my stepfather was having some resistance to me taking over the business because I was a girl. And he never really had any intention of a female taking over his corporate photography business. He wanted me to go into portrait and wedding photography because that's what girls did. And so he unfortunately became extremely ill, and he was taken out of the business abruptly before he got to teach me much of anything. And so I had to rely on people that were in the business, employees, and then my mother was in the business to help bring me along. And so what I would do is when a job would come in that we decided I needed to shoot, I would go practice the night before. And so we had all the processing and everything in the house because we ran our business out of our home at the time. And I would sometimes stay in the studio till midnight practicing whatever it was that I was going to have to shoot for a client the next day, processing the film. And when my mom would look at the film and go, okay, you're ready for tomorrow, then I could go home and go to bed. And so that's how I came into the business. And that's how I got where I am today, is just by really persevering. And I've had a great people behind me helping and educating me and getting me where I am. But no, I didn't go to school for it. And I learned trial by fire.
Yeah, but you had to have an innate skill for it and an eye for it, because I can, I can look at a scene and I can look at it and go, well, I'd make a great picture, but I don't have any idea about the lighting and about how to format the picture to make it look really good and stuff. That's all part of what you do, right?
It is. And I do think genetically I inherited a lot of that. I mean, it's been in my blood since I was very young. I understood angles and lenses and what they bring to the table, even as a young person. But I had to learn the lighting. I mean, I had to teach it to myself in the studio. And luckily at the time, we did a lot of work with continuous tone lighting, so hot lights. And so what you see is what you get. That was what the great part about hot lights was. And so just, yes, I'm not going to say I didn't have any of it in me. I do. But a lot of it, I had to either teach it to myself or rely on others to show me the way.
Are you familiar with a photographer? Her name is was Linda Eastman, and her name became Linda McCartney.
Oh, yes, yes, I am familiar. Yes.
And it is amazing to me that, and her story is that she was just taking pictures, and somebody said, "You want to go to England and take some rock and roll people?" And so she took pictures of the Rolling Stones and Jimi Hendrix, and of course the Beatles and stuff. And she just discovered that she had a way of snapping the photos at the right time to give them the look of reality, and it wasn't staged in any way. And is that some of the things that you work towards, is to not have it look and appear staged, to have it appear natural?
It depends on what it is and what the goal is, because everything that I do is for marketing. Sometimes the goal is for it to look very natural. Other times, like yesterday, I was shooting product photography in the studio. There's nothing about that is anything but staged. It's not natural. Everything is, placed in where it is. So because I'm working in the branding world, it's all about what the company wants as their asset. How do they want it to appear to their constituents? So I have to be very well versed at both the staged and the natural.
Well, and I got to tell you, the stage part, people think that you're just taking a picture of something, but when you stage something, there's an art form to doing that as well.
There is. And yesterday, many of the parts that I was photographing, there were 30, 40 pieces that are a part of a kit. And arranging those, it's very difficult. It's a spatial brain thing that not everybody has. And so you're exactly right. There is definitely a creativity to the staging, and then there's a creativity to making it look as natural as possible.
When I was 100 million years ago, when I was working for Denny's, and they took pictures of the plates of food that you would have, and then they created the steps to make that, and that kind of stuff. That was an art form all in and of itself, because they had to stage it in such a way that you could see where everything went and where it was going to be in the photograph and all of that. So. And I remember when I was at the DoubleTree Plaza Hotel, the food and beverage director would stand and look at a display for like 20 or 30 minutes, just trying to get an idea of how he could improve the presentation so that it would look really good. Is that kind of part of the dilemma of putting it together, is being able to stage it in such a way that you're able to get, because you're trying to tell a story, right?
Yes.
And when you're telling a story through pictures, you only have the picture. That amazes me.
Yeah, I call that the impact zone, because we do still photography. You have to have that impact immediately when you look at an image. It's not like video where you can pan around and then hit that impact image. You have to do it right away. And food photography is actually very special in and of itself, because normally there is a stylist, there is somebody there to make sure that they create that menu item the way that it is going to look best in front of the camera. So food photography is a beast in and of itself.
And I'll tell you, because now sometimes the food's not edible, because you can't, like, as an example, put whipped cream on something, because it'll melt with the lights and all that kind of stuff. So there's a way of creating it so that it looks natural, but it's not edible.
It depends. So in America, I can't speak to everybody, there's truth in advertising. And so if you are selling whipped cream, your whipped cream has to be real. It has to be. And yes. And if you're selling milk, the milk can't be Elmer's glue. But if you're selling if you're selling cereal, then your milk can be fake.
That is so weird. Why do did somebody actually think up these rules?
I have no idea. I just know that based on all the food that I've done in my life, if I'm selling ice cream, the ice cream has to be real, and the ice cream is awful to photograph. Can I tell you how awful ice cream is to photograph?
I can only imagine, because the lighting will melt it really quickly, won't it?
The only kind of work that's ever made me cry, Kevin. Literally, I had to go outside and sit on the sidewalk and cry because my ice cream melted before I got the shot done.
Oh, that's terrible.
It
That's
was
terrible.
awful.
By the way, we are talking with Lesle Lane. Miss Lane, did anybody ever call you Miss Lane and
Oh,
think
yes.
that you were like Lois?
Exactly. Yeah, all through high school.
Well, and you went through high school when the Superman was the thing, probably.
Yeah, I always joke that my name either sounds like a rock star or a porn star. I don't know which one.
Well, there's something to be said for, I guess, both. I don't know. Anyway, we're talking with Lesle Lane. Go to her website, which is studio13online.com. When we come back, I want to discuss, because since you've been in the business a while, the difference between film and digital. And has that changed the industry a great deal? Because now you don't have to go to Photomat anymore to have your pictures done, or go to your dark room, which I'm sure you had a dark room in your facility to do those themselves. And for those of you who have no idea what a dark room is, we're going to explain when we come back. So stay with us, everybody, and we will be right back after this. It's just 1 minute and 10 seconds. Do you want your child to develop lifelong emotional skills as well as academic ones? We teach kids how to read, how to count, how to behave. But what if we taught them how to understand themselves? Abracadabra by Terry Bean is a gentle reminder for children and adults that emotions aren't something to fix. They're something to listen to through imagination instead of instruction. This beautifully written story helps children feel seen, safe, and understood. It builds emotional awareness, self-trust, and the kindness without screens or pressure. Paired with the companion creativity book, reflection becomes expression, and lessons become lasting tools. If you want to nurture emotional confidence, calm, and creativity, this is where it begins. This isn't screen time. This is connection time. This is storytelling with purpose and a sprinkle of magic. Buy Abracadabra today and give a child tools they can carry for a lifetime. And welcome back to Positive Talk. My name is Kevin, and Rochelle is traveling today, and we haven't found her yet, so hopefully we'll find her at one point. But in any event, we're talking with Lesle Lane, and she's got a company. It is a corporate studio, and she does photography. And go to studio13online.com to find out all about her and to look at some of the great work that she's done. And if you want to hire her, I bet you can do that from there, can't you?
Absolutely.
So I got to ask you, what did you think about that piece that we created? Okay,
I love it. I absolutely love it. It caught my attention, and especially since I've got 2 grandchildren, it was something that I was fascinated with.
You're far too young to have grandchildren, by the way.
I do. I have 2 grandchildren, 2 and 4, with another one on the way.
How many children do you have?
Just 2.
Oh, well, they've been productive.
They have.
That's really good. Now, are they in the business with you?
They are not. My oldest daughter did come in during a very tumultuous time in the business where I needed some extra help getting the business structured the way I wanted it to during a difficult time. But she limited herself. She goes, "I'll give you 2 years of my life and then I'm out."
Well, I wish my children would have given me 2 years of their life. The only time they ever show up is when they want a check or some silly thing like that. Well, you know how that happens. So Lesle, the difference between film and digital, how big a difference has it made?
Boy, it's been a path. I wouldn't say that it's been a thing. So I was very fortunate that before my stepfather got taken out of the business, he was already looking into this, because for my business, digital has been inevitable. So back when we shot film, it would be scanned and digitized so that it could go on a printing press. And so we knew eventually that middle ground of scanning was going to go away. We knew it. And so my mother, my father, and my grandfather sat in a convention talking about digital photography way before it became a thing. And my grandfather looked over and said, just because we're advancing doesn't mean we're improving.
Oh.
And so the beginning phases of digital photography were rough. The very first camera that came out by Kodak was awful. The quality was terrible. And then they did a change of not trying to capture an image in one shot, but capturing it over multiple shots. So the first digital camera I ever had, it captured red, green, and blue as separate exposures. And then it married those three images together, sent it off to the computer into one usable file. And that gave us a very large file compared to what the Kodak camera was giving us. The other way that they were doing it at the time was a scanning back. So it would literally open the shutter and it would scan across a sensor, and then it would send all of that information to the computer. So those two were actually pretty high quality cameras. The problem with it is you could not use it on anything that moved.
Oh.
Okay, so that was the early 90s and early to mid 90s, and it limited it. And so then when they got it so that it was in a medium format camera, smaller, because those were being worked on a 4x5 camera, think Ansel Adams. Then when it got to a medium format camera, it was okay. But when they made the transition to the DSLR, the 35 millimeter camera, the small ones that you see people using now, that's when the quality tanked. And so because people wanted to shoot people with them, because they needed to move faster, because these older cameras were so slow to send the information over to the computer, there was years there where the quality, in my opinion, was not nearly as good as those first large, expensive digital cameras. So that was what, 1997 was when 1996 was when I bought my first big digital camera. Cost more than my first house, just in case you're curious.
Wow.
And then last year, I replaced all of my DSLRs with the new Canon R5. And for the first time, I feel like we finally hit that same quality that we did with those really big, expensive cameras back in the late 1990s. The quality and the focus points and the delivering of the images is just magnificent. So it's been a journey, definitely a journey to get it to where I remember the quality being with film.
And there had to have been a pushback of longtime photographers that were not really interested in making that transition to digital, because it was a process for them to and so they stuck with film. Did you find that was kind of a thing of I'm going to stick with film because that's how we've always done it, versus learning how to do something new?
Absolutely. And I feel so incredibly grateful that I was too young to be afraid. I was too young to be afraid of digital photography, because so many people were, they didn't want to learn it, and they went out of business. And I think anytime there is a technological revolution in an industry, that if you don't change, you fail. And so I feel very fortunate for that. I feel like we're going through it again right now with AI, that if you're afraid, and if you push back too much, you're going to fail. And so I feel very, very fortunate that I had pioneering parents. I'm a pioneer. And now going into this phase of my life with AI, I'm embracing it for what it is, and trying to keep myself as educated as I possibly can of how we can integrate that into the business instead of shying away from it.
Well, I don't know. By the way, Mr. Gowdy says, good show. So thank you, Brent, and if you can find your daughter, who's Burchelle, she's in Phoenix today, I think, but tell her that we're missing her, and she's missing a great show because she is a photographer of sorts as well. She takes natural photos and that kind of stuff. But in any event, there are people that are under 40. When I say the term dark room, they have absolutely no idea what I'm talking about. Explain what a dark room was and its purposes.
Sure. In the old days, I won't even say, because it's actually making a big return right now. People are returning to film. They want the experience of it, but they're not processing their own film. So as most people know, film is sensitive to light. That is how this whole thing got started back in the 1800s, as you would expose a piece of silver to a special kind of light and then put it in a chemical to process. Well, you have to do that in a room that is completely dark, or you ruin your film. And so that is the process of going into the dark room in a completely black area, putting it through a series of chemicals to process your film, whether it was a negative or a positive. The process was longer or shorter. So think Kodachrome, for those of you that know the song Kodachrome. Slides, those are positives. If it was a negative, then you would have to take that film, take it to a different darkroom, put it in an enlarger. For those of you that don't know what that is, it puts a light through the film and makes the image bigger or smaller compared to how much you wanted. Then you put it through another light sensitive process of chemicals, and then you will get a physical photo print. Those were the different darkrooms that you would have to go in to process your film and to process your prints.
I can only imagine, because it must be the anticipation that you would feel, because you took the picture, you think it's good, and you got the film and you hope it's good, and then you go and you go into the dark room and then you process it, and then it doesn't come out right, and you're like, but I thought it was going to be better, or it comes out better than expected. Is that kind of the surprise? Here it is.
So the thing about film is, if it came out wrong, you had to back up and go, did I process it wrong? Or did I shoot it wrong? And so you would have to go through everything to make sure, if you didn't get a perfect image on that film, there were signs of where the problem was. Did you load the camera right? Did you load the film right in the process? Did you process it right? Was it a chemical problem? Did you shoot it right? So many different variables that you had to figure out what the heck you did wrong. And in my field, you couldn't do that and be a professional. You couldn't mess up. You couldn't mess up. And so we would do a thing called bracketing, where once you got your exposure where you thought it was, you would shoot several too light, several too dark, several right on, because if you messed up anything, you had all these options that certainly one of them was right.
Well, I can only imagine if you're in a corporate setting and you get a one-time shot at getting everybody there together and to organize and to get it the way you want to. So it's got to be right, because it's not like you can say, oh man, I screwed up and I need to get everybody back together again. That probably wouldn't make your business fly very well, would it?
No, it would not. And many times, if you're shooting a high-level executive or a senator or someone like that, it literally is a one-shot wonder. You get it once. And so there would be it was time consuming. You would shoot a lot of film, you would shoot a lot of different exposures. And then you would say the photo prayer as you process the film. And a lot of times, if you were doing something that was that important, so let's just say a senator, I had an opportunity to photograph a senator who was running for president. I would process that film one roll at a time, so that if something happened, I didn't have 5 rolls that I was processing at the same time, so that the same problem would happen to all 5 rolls. You had special ways that you would deal with the situations that were do or die.
Well, and congratulations for having the opportunity to photograph someone, and we don't need to know his name, but way back in 1980, I was a waiter at the restaurant at the DoubleTree Plaza Hotel, and Ronald Reagan was going to come and speak there, and they set up the podium and stuff. And I was standing there in the middle of the restaurant, which was open to the atrium, which was open to where he was going to speak. And all of a sudden, there was this man standing next to me in a dark suit with this thing in his ear, and he was from the Secret Service. And so, what's it like filming somebody around when they've got all these people and all this hubbub of activity, and you got the campaign manager, and you've got, oh, that doesn't look right, and that's, we need to, what's that whole situation like?
Well, I was very fortunate. This particular senator had actually been photographed by my dad several times. And so I was actually at the shoots with my dad. And so I knew this person well. I knew their family well. So I didn't have that level of anxiety because I knew the person. But he didn't have to choose me. My dad had passed away, that he certainly could have found another photographer, and he chose to use me. And it was so humbling, especially as a young woman in a primarily male field, to be standing there with somebody of his caliber and knowing that he had chosen a young female up and coming photographer to photograph his campaign photographs.
That's outstanding, because you were a groundbreaker of sorts as well.
Yes, and it's different now, but it's not different now. I don't see a lot of women going into the field because it is a challenge to have the work-life balance. So because corporate photography is 8 to 5, normally Monday through Friday, and because in America, many women are still responsible for the child rearing and getting them to school, getting them off the bus, it is very difficult for women to work in corporate photography, where the portrait and wedding industry is a little bit easier because it's nights and weekends. And so they can balance that a little bit better with their home responsibilities. So, but at the time, yes, I was a groundbreaker. I was a little more difficult than I am right now. And when I go back and talk to my male allies from the time, they're very understanding. They're like, Lesle, you had no choice. There was nobody else at the table but you. You had to be tough. And I'm like, well, maybe I could have been a little softer.
And by the way, we're talking with Lesle Lane. She has a company at Studio 13 Corporate Photography, and go to her website, which is studio13online.com, and you can find out all about her and learn. It's a very complex and difficult thing that you do, and you've been very successful at it, and you've also broken the barrier of the sexes, if you will, because there's still some jobs that men tend to have a corner on, and that seems to be one of them. And so we need to take our station break, and when we come back, I want to talk to Lesle about the advent of what everybody's talking about, which is AI, and it's going to kill all of us, and we're going to be it's going to be a horrible, horrible thing, but it can actually be a terrific tool to make things even better, I think. But I want Leslie's opinion when we come back. So stay with us, everybody. We'll be back in right about a minute. You're listening to Positive Talk Radio Network. We're on a mission to entertain, enlighten, empower, and educate through inspiring music, dynamic conversations, and yes, laughter. Join me, Kevin McDonald, and Brishelle as we declare our freedom from hate, division, and fear, and celebrate a better way of living. Go to positivetalkradio.net to find out more. Here's another point to ponder by Positive Talk Radio. You know, the world doesn't need more noise. Everyone knows we have enough of that. What we need is more listening. Because listening creates understanding. Listening builds bridges. And listening reminds people that they matter. Real progress happens when we slow down long enough to hear one another. Not to fix, not to judge, just to understand someone else's point of view. When conversations are rooted in respect and humanity, they have the power to heal, inspire, and move people forward. That's our mission. That's why we're here. I hope you'll join us. And welcome back to Positive Talk. My name is Kevin McDonald. Lesle Lane is here. Miss Lane, it's such a pleasure. I love saying that, but but I hope it doesn't bring back triggering memories from your youth.
No, we're all good.
Good. What do you think of those pieces that we do?
I think they're very well done. They're very engaging. I think that the contrast between slow motion and action, and then the use of focus, is all very on point to engage your viewers so that they come into it and they want to be a part of the conversation of what you're trying to show them.
And right now, I got to tell you, Leslie, because in your business, listening is a really big deal, because you need to ask great questions and then listen to what they tell you so that you get it right and you can satisfy what they want. Unfortunately, listening is kind of a lost art in our country right now, and I'm hoping that we'll get it back. What do you think?
I'm very hopeful. Yes, you're correct. In assignment photography, because that's what I do. I'm given an assignment that I have to then fulfill. You have to know what the message is that you're trying to portray. And if you're not listening to your clients, and many times I'm just trying to solve a problem. I'm trying to go in, and they've had photography before, but this, and this has gone wrong. And so if I don't listen to what the end usage is or what their pain points are, if I'm not listening, I'm not going to get the job, or I'm not going to keep the account if I get the job.
You know, and recently I've been told by people that are now getting into digital creation and stuff. They're going, I can do this with AI, and it's just as easy. It just is a simple, and it's a snap, but it's not quite that way. Do you think that they're ever going to be able to take the human creativity out of what you do, or what, or really in media, and just turn it over to AI, or do you think there's going to be the creative aspect is going to stay ultimately human?
There's a couple of ways to view it. I wish I could see 10 years down the line. I wish I could see that far to see where it's going to go. For now, there's several things that are going on. And when you are searching through your search engines or through AI, Chat GPT and the likes, and you're looking for something, you're looking for a corporate photographer, they are ranking you according to your website. They're ranking you according to your views. They're ranking you according to your social media. There's so many things in the algorithm of how they're finding you. One of the things they're now doing is, if your content is created by AI, they are demoting you. So if your copy, the words that are on your website, if you just Googled what to put on there, or you use Chat GPT to write it, you just got dinged. If you're using artificially created imagery, you get dinged. And so right now, that is putting me in a sweet spot where custom photography, custom videography is being rewarded by the search engines rather than the other way around. Is it going to stay that way? I feel like that my business particularly is going to have to continue to evolve around the human element. I believe that thinking and processing information and being able to engage on a human level, I'm not sure a computer is going to be able to do that. So if you're trying to sell your goods or services to a human being, but a computer is trying to sell it to that human being, how's that going to work? How's it going to work? And so photographing people, I need to be able to get an emotion out of them. I need to be able to get a look, a feel, a comfort level. Maybe there's an average person in front of the camera. A computer can't do that. A computer can't make a person feel comfortable. A person can't make a person, be acceptable in front of the camera. So for now, I feel like that photographers just have to be super smart about what they're offering. If you're offering photography that is cookie cutter, if you're offering something that's not unique, you're probably going to be washed out. That's what a computer can do. If you're trying to create something that is engaging, emotional, something that is not universal, that's when the human element is going to continue to be a factor.
Well, and the human element is a really big deal. I was just thinking while you were saying that, what about setting the stage of a corporate environment that involves a human being in the picture. You want them to have a certain look and a certain feel, a certain smile, and I don't know that. And so you as a human being setting that up and working with them create that impression in them, and so that you're getting what the customer actually wants. Is that fair?
That's very fair. And companies, I was speaking to an accounting firm last week. I was in doing updated corporate headshots for a nationwide firm, and they're talking about what do they do to keep their culture from being ruined by AI. People are scared that their jobs are going to be replaced. And so, from a cultural standpoint, me coming in, not just doing headshots, but doing collaborative imagery where there's a team sitting around a table and talking, that makes those employees feel important to the organization. It builds culture so that people want to keep working for the company, because AI is not going to, it might replace some jobs. I wish it wouldn't. But some of it is going to be replaced by AI. And so this accounting firm was saying, how do we repurpose these excellent team members? Because finding talent is hard. And so how do you take somebody whose job might be repetitive and can be replaced by AI? How do we repurpose them to keep them a part of our culture? So I think that for now, there's going to be this balance of, we don't want to lose this person. And then we also want to show our team that they are valued and that AI is not as valued as they are. So we're kind of in that weird stage right now, but that's a lot of what I'm seeing out there.
And I was interviewing a gentleman that is in the business of creating riffs, which is reduction in force, and using AI. And what he would do, and what he was very proud of the fact that he could go to a business and say, you need to update your processes and stuff, and you can eliminate this number of positions by using AI and what it brings to the table. And one of the questions I asked him is, so tell me, how do you sleep at night?
And what
Because
was his answer?
he was like, hey, look, I make money. And it's like, but there has to be a humanity involved in everything that we do, and a reduction in. I love the term reduction in force, because that's a very nice way of saying you're firing people.
Right. And think about it. How many times do you have to call customer service for something and you can't talk to a person, and how frustrating that is, and how you want, I mean, I've heard my husband on the phone screaming at artificial intelligence, speak to a representative, speak to a representative. And so I just feel like that if you care about your customer base at all, you have to think about that. Are you going to lose your customers because you're losing the human impact?
Oh, exactly. It's like now we're starting to get sales calls. They will go like, hello. 1, 2, 3. Oh, I'm fine. How are you? Because what they're doing is it's AI, and they are anticipating. They're not even listening, but they're anticipating what you're liable to say next and stuff. And then, so now the first thing that I say if I ever get one of those is, are you real? Are you a real person? And most of the time it'll just hang up, because I think that's part of the deal. But like in my business, in my work with doing voiceovers and that kind of stuff, their AI is now taking a position in that. But the problem that the AI has is that they mispronounce words that are pretty easy, and they also don't put the reflections into where it needs to be to make it more human. So I think in your work, as in my work, I think there'll always be a place for good people that are doing good work. If you're going to replace it with AI, then like customer service, if I would never have AI operate my customer service, because all you're doing is making people angry.
Yeah, and making your customers feel unimportant, unvalued.
And if you believe that your customers are not very valuable, then guess what? You're going to be out of business before long.
Yes, exactly.
And so by the way, Leslie, it's been such a pleasure to talk to you, and we've got another segment to go, but I just wanted to get that out because I really have enjoyed our conversation. You're very smart. Did you know that?
Oh no, don't say that. That would really ruin my reputation.
Well, and when we come back from this break, I did want to talk to you about the difference, because it's becoming more of a thing. That more and more women are getting into areas that they haven't necessarily been in the past. And so there's kind of a metamorphosis that they are going through to maintain who they are and deal with the glass ceiling and the good old boys club and all that kind of good stuff. Can we talk about that when we come back?
Of course, I'd love to.
We'll be right back and by the way, if you want to, and we're going to talk about this guy next hour, but Rudra meditation is what we're going to talk about real quick. Most people live their lives trying to escape tension. Rudra meditation teaches you how to use it. In Rudra meditation, Stuart Perrin shares over 40 years of lived practice. Not theory, not philosophy. He shares a non-denominational meditation practice that transforms emotional, mental, and physical pressure into clarity, joy, and love. This meditation isn't monastic, sequestered, or a means of hiding from life. It's a craft one learns that helps embrace day-to-day reality. It enables us to be responsible, to deal with loss, to master internal chaos. If tension runs your life, this book shows how to meet it and change it from the inside. Get a copy today. Discover a form of meditation that will transform discomfort and unhappiness into an open heart. And welcome back to Positive Talk. My name is Kevin McDonald. Rochelle apparently is out today, and Lesle Lane is with us. She is a photographer of note. And go to her website, please, which again is studio13online.com. It's a beautiful website, by the way.
Thank you. We do some really great work here. We have a great team.
And isn't it great to have a great team that is surrounding you? And how do you manage your team? And we'll get to the other thing in a minute. But how do you manage your team to bring everybody online and to get everybody, as I like to say, canoeing and paddling in the right direction?
Well, I think that I can actually swing that whole women's thing in on this conversation. So we'll bring it all back around. Because so many of the people on my team are women. So we are in a day and age where you don't have to work 40 hours a week at corporate America anymore. In fact, it's hard to even find those jobs. And so a lot of people, including women, are doing things on a freelance basis. And so my team is not one of them is a W-2 employee. So every single person except for me on my team is a 1099 contractor. They work when they want to work. They don't work when they don't want to work. And they only work on what they want to work on. So if I've got a photographer who doesn't like to shoot headshots, they don't shoot headshots. If I've got a person that loves events, that's all they shoot are events. And so it is a positive place for my team members to be for two reasons. They don't have to go find the work. They don't have to quote the work. They only have to shoot the work. And then I edit the work, invoice the work, collect it. They don't have to do any of the business part of it. Because most photographers get into this to take pictures. They don't want to do all the other stuff that goes with it. And so my team doesn't have to do that. So that's the first reason that I can keep them happy and keep them rowing all in the same direction. The second way is I pay them well. I do not subscribe to some of these large brokerage firms that pay their photographers pennies on the dollar. They can't even keep a roof over their head for what some of these large companies are doing. So I'm offering not only my customers the attention that they need, the specialized services that they want, but I'm also offering my photographers a wage that is fair for the talent that they have. So that's how I keep them happy. And I think I have about 75% of the people on my team are women.
You are very smart. It's amazing to me how many corporate cultures still exist out there where it's all the boys club, or it's all they do it a certain way, and if you don't toe the line, then you're out. And rather than looking at the human angle of the individuals, because imagine the freedom that your photographers have. They work when they want to work. They don't work when they don't want to work, and they only shoot what they're really good at and feel comfortable with. That is a really cool job to have.
Well, and they're still free to go pursue their own interests. So many of my photographers run photography businesses on their own, but it's hard to make a living in photography. And I say constantly, there are photographers and then there are photography businesses. Those are two completely different things. I run a photography business and I work extremely hard. And not everybody wants to work as hard as I do, but I like money. And so I work hard, and that's how I, make a living. But they can go out and they can pursue the jobs that they want to pursue. And then I supplement the work that they do on their own.
Which is really a brilliant strategy on your part. Because when they're there to work, when there is work, but you're not paying them to sit around and do nothing.
Yes, I'm not paying them. I'm not having to worry about health insurance, retirement. I can do all that for myself and not have any pressure to provide it for anybody else. Because I'm going to tell you, Kevin, running this business the way my parents did, they had 11 full-time W-2 employees. And as I took that business over at a very young age, I have never felt the kind of pressure that I felt trying to provide for other people. It is life-sucking for me to run, because we've had so many things in our lifetime. We've had 9/11 and we've had the Great Recession, and photography has had this transformation from film to digital to AI. The economy's up and down. COVID, for God's sakes, who had that on their bingo card? I didn't. And so all those things. And up until 5 years ago, I was having to worry about providing for other people. And it put so much pressure on me. And this business model that I have now allows me more freedom. It gives more people more opportunities. And I don't have the pressure that I had to provide for other people.
I think in many ways, it's the wave of the future.
I do too. And I've heard more and more people are doing it this way.
Because it makes good sense. I have a full team. I have an audio and video creative team, and they work in a whole different country. A lot of them, they use virtual people, and they're not virtual. They're real people, but they're in a whole they're in a whole different country. But one of the things that I found, and I'd love your opinion on this too. One of the things that I found is that, I don't know if you know this, but people that are in third world countries, even if they've got a great education, they get taken advantage of by people because they can be. And so I pay my people a legitimate wage that they can live in their country and live well. And what that does for me is it eliminates turnover because they appreciate being here, and I can afford, and I can pay them so that their children can, like do simple things like, eat, which is kind of a big deal for a 13-year-old kid. They'd like to eat occasionally and stuff. So I'm able to contribute to their well-being at the same time, and I'm not taking advantage of them. Isn't that more the better human way of being?
Oh, it most certainly is. And if we can't make an impact on people's lives, when I'm dead and gone, I hope that I've got many years left ahead of me. But the only thing that will be left that I care about is impact. And when I'm gone, are the people around me going to be happy they knew me? Did I leave something? And that's the same way I feel about my customers, same way I feel about my family, same way I feel about my team. Are they going to say, one time Leslie did X, Y, and Z for me, and it made a big difference in my life. The rest of it's, I can't take money with me. So as much as I love money and I love all the things money can buy, I can't take any of it with me. So yeah, impact.
We need to change that if we can. Maybe, I don't know, who do we talk to about taking the money with us?
Somebody much higher than me, Kevin. Somebody much higher than me.
But I tell you, and I was just thinking about this too. You are creating a legacy that is going to be around long after you and I have gone to our great reward in the sky, but that legacy is going to remain. That has to make you feel good.
I sure hope so. That is my hope. And one of the reasons why I do these podcasts, Kevin, is I'm actively looking for an apprentice. So I will not have a fourth generation coming through my business that I know of, unless something interesting happens. But I'm actively looking for somebody that I can mentor and that I can shape into a business owner so that I can retire. So that's even more of the impact that I hope to make. The legacy that I hope to leave is that this business will also go on without me.
Well, and I want to give you the opportunity right now. By the way, if you go to Leslie's website, it is studio13online.com, and it's a corporate photography focused on excellence and what she does. And I want to give you the opportunity to because I think this is a great opportunity for someone to be an apprentice and to come learn under you. Do they need to be local, or can it be anywhere?
Well, I mean, certainly my photographers that I reach out to, because we work on a nationwide basis. So if somebody, especially customers that are really looking for consistent results, that they want the images that I take at their local office here to match the one in Dallas or someplace else. Certainly being from the Midwest would be helpful because we have a large constituents of clients here in the Midwest. But as far as people that could, work with me where I could hire them for projects in their area, I'm more than happy to interview people for that. But for the apprenticeship, yeah, they probably have to be from somewhere close by.
Well, very good. Talk to us about the apprenticeship and what they need as far as innate skills in order for them, because they're buying and they're buying into a legacy and a fourth generation. I don't know if you know this. I'm sure you do. Fourth generation businesses don't happen very often.
They do not. I had a wonderful conversation with a guy that was a third generation ad agency owner. Talk about a unicorn. And just talking about, what it means to take the family legacy with you. I love to say I'm a great photographer, and I do. And I think that there are many things that I truly excel at photographically. But one thing that really sets me apart is my business prowess and trying to really tap into what's happening in not just my industry, but in other industries. Because how can you really fulfill your clients' needs if you don't understand what they do and who they're competing with? So this person that might come into this business, they need to be business savvy. They need to want to work hard. And they need to definitely have skills that they are open to a team, because I have a salesperson, I have a social media person, I have an administrator, I have assistants, videographers, drone operators, and photographers. And each one of them has a special and unique personality. And so they have to be able to have this openness that they welcome all people, all genders, all ethnicities, and be willing to work with a diverse culture of people.
You mean somebody that's got modern philosophy of that we're all one and that we take care of each other and that we can all work together for the betterment of everybody. You mean somebody like that?
Somebody like that. Yes, that would be perfect.
And I like to think that there are more and more people like that all the time that are recognizing that is a much better way to run their life and to run this planet than to be filled with hate, division, and fear. What do you think?
Well, Kevin, I wouldn't be here today if it weren't for people like that. People who invested in me, that gave me a part of their essence. I wouldn't be here. And they're men and women alike, and people of all backgrounds. And so I hope, the world is just so scared right now, and they're the people that are scaring them are closed-minded and they're hateful. And that's such a terrible way to live. I mean, life, there's a lot to life. And so, yes, I am hopeful that people will start to see that life is good when you're at peace, and life is good when you are kind. It's so much easier to be kind than mean. I don't even have to think about what I say to people because I want to be nice. So it just flows. And so, yes, Kevin, I am in high hopes for my future and the children and the grandchildren, that we can find a way to be good to each other.
And by the way, everybody, I don't know if you know this, but a smile costs nothing.
Not a dime.
But it can have the impact of a huge impact on a number of people. I drove a bus for 12 years in Seattle. And one of the things that I found is if I smiled at somebody and said a nice word to them, that may be the only nice word that they get all day long.
And I bet they may not remember your name, Kevin, but they remember that.
They do.
Mm-hmm.
They do. And I've been out of it for so, but I mean, every 3 months we would change routes and stuff, and people were sad because they enjoyed the fact that I wasn't, sometimes bus drivers they're not happy with what they're doing, but they stay because they make a decent living and stuff. So in any event, Lesle Lane has been our guest. So you're going to have to come back because I really want Purcell to be here next time that you're here. You're delightful, I have to tell you.
Thank you so much. I'd love to come back anytime.
You are just wonderful. And your website again is?
Studio13online.com. We're also on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. We'd love to hear from you.
And your LinkedIn address, just go to Lesle Lane or go to Studio 13?
Both. I'm on both.
Oh, very nice. Any last words before we go? Would you? And I'll leave it to you.
You'll leave it to me. That's dangerous stuff right there, Kevin. Just first of all, thank you so much for having me. And I think that the joy of impacting a team and out there in the world, capturing people in their work, it is a very impactful way for me to make my living every day. So I appreciate you giving me some time to talk about it and talk about, what a wonderful way it is to make a living.
Well, I can only tell you that I'm proud of you. This is the first time we've met, but I'm really proud of all that you're doing and who you are and how you're positively impacting people now and in the future, because you're a young woman. You got a long, long time left to go.
That's funny. I'm a young woman. That's hilarious. I shot film, Kevin. I shot film. I'm not that young.
And you remember Photomat, don't you?
I do. You cracked me up, Photomat. I haven't heard that in forever. That's like those little stations that you used to drive in a U-turn to drop your film off.
Exactly. And they would be in the middle of the parking lot of like where a grocery store was and a department store, and they were just this little thing, and you drop it off, and you'd come back a couple of days later and pick up your stuff.
Yep. Yeah. I hadn't heard it in forever.
Yeah, so in any event, Lesle Lane has been with us, and I want to thank her for being here so much. Go to her website again, which is studio13online.com, and find out all about her. And by the way, if you are a photographer and would like to learn the business from the ground up and become an apprentice, how do they reach you?
Just go to any of our social media, go to my website. There's a contact us page on the website. You can go anywhere. You can find me all over.
And if you know somebody that you may not be, but they might be, but the one thing is, and we got to go, but in the next time you're here, we're going to talk about the fact that a lot of people, they want to do stuff, but they don't want to work very hard to do it. And it's hard to be successful if you're not willing to dedicate yourself and work hard for it. Especially in this industry. Yes, indeed. So Lesle Lane has been with us, and thank you so much. You have yourself a wonderful day.
Thank you, Kevin. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for being part of Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald, where stories inspire and voices remind us of what truly matters. May today's conversation give you hope, courage, and a reason to keep moving forward. And just remember, till next time, be kind to one another, because each other's all we've got.